When does a hobby become an obsession, then possibly become an addiction? Today on Barber Dave Shaves and Such. Hey everybody, as you saw in the disclaimer, this is going to be kind of a heavy video today. I'm dedicating it to a good friend of the channel, a brother in Christ, and that's Gene, the Deacon Shaves. Probably one of the bravest people I know, because he put out a video, and you can go see it all. Just look for the Deacon Shaves, his YouTube channel. And he put out a video that hit me right to the core. Because Gene always used to call me the sensei, because I guess the tips and tricks that I've given people over the years and stuff like that. But it also made me feel a little bit guilty, and I know that that's not what his intention was, because, you know, on the cadre, we have what we call the Central Enablement Center. And we jokingly, you know, try to get people to buy soaps and stuff like that. But over the years, it's gotten me to thinking that that's not a bad thing, okay, because we're all responsible for our own well-being. However, it does bring up the point of when does a seemingly okay hobby become an obsession and then from there become an addiction. Gene put out a very heartfelt video talking about his struggles with that in regard to the shaving. Well, I'm going to bring up a couple of things today that may be surprising to some, may not be surprising to anybody. But before I do that, don't forget to come and see us, www.theshavingcadre.com. Also, come and see our alternate channel, Rocks and Roads, all about rock hounding and four-wheeling and RV adventures. And then last but least, but certainly not least, Drinks and Daves every Tuesday night at 5 p.m. Pacific with my good friend Nurse Dave. So let's get into what is a hobby. And let's just start with this. Shaving is a hobby. Four-wheeling is a hobby. Watches are a hobby. Pretty much anything you can think of that's got a materialistic aspect to it can be a hobby. Now, when does that hobby become an obsession? Now, in my case, and this was hard for me to admit, but it's true, I have two. I used to be a smoker. Now, that one went to full-blown addiction. And before we go any further, and just to clarify things, anybody who looks at you with this hobby or any other hobby that you're doing and says that that if you step over that line and become obsessed and maybe go full flow into addiction, says that you're weak or not strong, the first thing you should do is ignore that person forever. Secondly, go up and punch that person right in the frickin' mouth, because addiction or obsession coming from a hobby has nothing to do with strength, has nothing to do with mental weakness. It has to do with situational awareness, and we're going to get into that. And once again, these are my opinions only, because I've been there. And in my case, it wasn't shaving. Now, you'd think shaving would be my big obsession, but I'll go into why it didn't become that way in just a few seconds. Where my obsession was watches. And if you get to a point where a hobby that you enjoy becomes so consuming that you're up till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning on a work day, watching a watch channel, or you're cruising the internet all day while you're working to look for watches, then you buy watches, some of which you may have never opened. And more importantly, when you start hiding things from your loved ones. In other words, when a package comes in, you grab it and put it away real quick. Or even more so, you hide the credit card bill. Or you use a lot of the pay in advance type things to get this obsession. I've been there, and it was with watches. Now, fortunately, I was very honest with my spouse up front. And but still, it got to the point where I was up and I'd have a watch channel on looking for a specific watch. And click, I turned it off when she came in the room. And these are not cheap watches either. I wasn't looking for the bargain basement watches, although Invicta was my gateway drug, so to speak. So I know how Jean feels because it totally consumes your life. And I would honestly say that my watch thing was an addiction. Definitely full-fledged addiction. The other one was smoking. Now, smoking is a physical addiction. No, I have not smoked a cigarette in many, many years. And I'm very proud that I was able to stop smoking. Now, notice how I did not say quit my addiction. And that's another misnomer. An obsession or an addiction never goes away. Never goes away. Are there days when I wake up and I want a cigarette so bad I can taste it? Absolutely. Now, some people have said, well, you smoke cigars. Different animal. Different animal. Because my body is not addicted to the cigars. However, that being said, why is it that I no longer smoke cigarettes when my spouse does? Which means that the temptation is there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Remember what I said earlier? Situational awareness. You have to have, to have a hobby go from becoming an obsession to an addiction. To prevent that, you have to have 360 global situational awareness of what you're doing with that hobby. Is it taking time away from your family? Obsession, addiction. Is it, are you hiding credit card bills? Obsession, addiction. Are you consumed with everything wet shaving? Or whatever that may be. Obsession, addiction. However, many of you who follow this channel would argue that my shaving channel, my obsession with wet shaving is that. Well, I said having the situational awareness. Well, yeah, do I have over 600 soaps? Yes. Do I have 40 or 50 brushes? Yes. Do I have 300 razors? Well, not quite. But with that situational awareness, you start finding that can you turn what could be an obsession or an addiction into something productive. In my case, when it comes to shaving, there were two things that happened. One, after I retired from my other career and the military, I became a barber. So now my outlet for all my obsession and hobby with shaving has turned into a business. And as a business, I run it as a business. So again, I have that 360-degree situational awareness of what's going on. Then we and my partner started the Shaving Cadre. So we have a forum that we can outlet to. I haven't bought stuff in a long time. So is this an obsession still? Sure it is. It's how you control that. It is a hobby that breached into obsession, never got quite to addiction. On the watch side, I went full blown. Now, I have managed that because, again, situational awareness. So the only reason I bring this up is, one, Jean's video really, really moved me. And I know that he does not blame anyone for what happened in his situation, which I'm not going to rehash. You can go watch his video. However, he did call me sensei. And so do I feel not necessarily partially responsible, but do I feel a little bit contributory? Maybe. Even though I know Gene would not want me to feel that way because he's also a brother in Christ with me. But we are all, and some of you may argue this point with me, but we are all a feather width away from taking one of our hobbies, whatever that hobby may be, and turning it into an obsession, and from there turning it into an addiction. Now, in my opinion, with that situational awareness, your obsession can be managed. Once it goes to full-blown addiction, then you have to recognize that, look at your situational awareness, and then possibly get help, whether that be from your spouse, whether that be from other people in the hobby that can say, hey, slow down a little bit. And really, in the shaving hobby, it is really our responsibility to help our fellow man. But here's the thing. How do you recognize somebody going over the edge from obsession, from hobby to obsession to addiction? Simple answer, you don't. When you see somebody every day, and you physically in their presence, you can see signs. But in this, we have become a digital community. Many of us are great friends, even more so than people in real life. However, the one thing we cannot see is what's going on behind the scenes. And that's why this video with Gene literally caught me completely off guard. And it quite frankly brought me to tears, because I care a lot about Gene. As I said, he gave me the moniker of Sensei, and that means a lot to me. So that's why I dedicated this video to him and to his healing, because he was able to recognize it. But understand one thing, once you get rid of an obsession, I said this a couple minutes ago, once you get rid of an obsession or a hobby, or not a hobby, or a addiction, it's never gone. It's always there. Again, it's always right here. And what I would say to Gene and anybody else that has gone down the path that we have, like I said, mine wasn't with shaving. Mine was with watches. Now, do I still love watches? Do I still buy watches? Do I still have a lot of watches? Absolutely. But I've also redirected myself into other things and other hobbies. But the watch addiction is still there. It will always be there. Just like the fact that when people say, oh, you don't smoke anymore, you're a non-smoker. No, I'm a smoker. I just don't smoke. And like I said, it follows with the physical aspects of addiction, whether that be alcoholism, tobacco, drugs, whatever, to the materialistic things. And that's where I think the problem lies. Because if you gamble all the time and you don't pay bills because you want to go gambling, that's an addiction. If you buy watches and can't pay bills or hide bills, that's an addiction. If you spend all your time in the shaving hobby, that could be an obsession leading to an addiction. But unfortunately, in societal terms, addictions are considered drugs, alcohol, tobacco. That's only 3 things. Everything can be an addiction or be an obsession. And I would challenge anybody to argue that every single one of us, and I don't care how strong you are, every single one of us has a hobby or something we do that could become an addiction. It's just how we handle that from a situational awareness thing. And never be afraid to ask somebody, hey, do you think I'm going too far with this? And more importantly, if you do have a hobby, whatever that hobby may be, and a lot of people will argue this point with me, and I really don't care, get your spouse involved in your hobby, one way or the other, whether that be supporting your shaving habit, supporting your watch habit, but because then you have a second set of eyes on you that can come to you and say, hey, stupid, you're going too far, or hey, let's slow down a little bit. I am extremely fortunate that I have that in my life. because a lot of people wouldn't understand who in the hell watches other people shave. Again, it's a hobby. So Gene's video did a lot for me to realize what some of my hobbies, obsessions, and addictions are. And you'll find, I mean, the newest hobby that we're doing now is four-wheeling, rocks, stuff like that. And even though it has not become an obsession, nor will it probably become an addiction, don't think that I'm not aware of where it could go, because I think that people that end up with hobbies or multiple hobbies all have that little genome that could take you over the edge if you really get into it. So you just have to recognize that. So anyhow, Deacon, my brother, I thank you so much for putting that video together. It opened my eyes into my own stuff. Now, unfortunately, I never got to the point where it was too terribly bad, but I was there. And I wish you prayers, and you've got all the support you need from me that you need. But I wanted to dedicate something like that. And also, if, you know, we're sitting at about 1,776 subscribers. We're not at 2,000 yet, where we give away the watch, but 1,700 people is a lot. And those 1,700 people have access to another 1,700 and another 1,700 and another 1,700. So I think it's important that we all realize that our hobbies can become obsessions and addictions very, very quick. Basically, alum, Thayer's lavender. And that's why I made mention on the forum that this was probably the most important video I've ever made. And I believe it is. Because I hope, if nothing else, if I prevent one person from going down the path, the bad path. Not saying that, you know, none of these hobbies are bad, okay? These aren't bad. It's not like we're meth addicts, okay? But it's still an addiction, and it's still an obsession. And I think if it helps one person open up their mind to that 360 degree, and I know I've said it a billion times, but it's situational awareness. Know where you're at in space, 360 degrees all the time. Then you and your brain could say, wait a minute, you know, do I really need that shave soap? Do I really want it? Do I really need it? Yeah, I can afford it. Yeah, why not? And then go from there. So, Gene, I hope this gives homage to your video because it helped me as well in realizing that. But I think everybody that's in this has a addictive personality. You know, we're usually type A people that love people, love things, and some of us have been more fortunate than others that we have been blessed with being able to do these things. But at the same time, we also have to recognize and be advocates for kind of looking out for the other guy. Meaning that, you know, is this guy buying a hell of a lot of soaps really, really fast, or a hell of a lot of razors really, really fast, or a hell of a lot of brushes really, really fast? Maybe we need to grow cojones big enough to say, hey, Mr. So-and-so, you may want to slow down a bit. Take a stock of what you have and then evaluate it. Tell your spouse, tell your brother, tell your sister. That way you have another set of eyes looking in on you. So anyhow, we'll clean up our brush real quick. So again, Gene, one of the bravest things you ever did, one of the bravest things I've ever seen, to be able to come out and show that. Because as we know, when you're on YouTube, you're at your most vulnerable, because there are people out there like myself and others that have come to your side and said, hey, we're here from you. If you fall, we're going to catch you. But there are a lot of other people that are going to be very, very mean about it. And for those people, the big flying fickle finger of fate, because we're all in this together. Okay, the razor I used today was the Titleist by... wow, I just lost. Anyhow, the Titleist. The Essence by Titleist. Wow. The brush today was the Yaki. Purple People Eater is what I call that. The soap today, staying with the purplish theme, is Seaforth, and I'm doing the cinematic thing, so I apologize. Seaforth, Roman spice. The aftershave will also be the Roman spice. And I did use the Gillette gel. Clubman talc. And you've seen the Clubman bottle enough times. So again, thank you so much for watching. Again, Gene, this video was for you. And then for our EDP today, or EDT rather, Seaforth, if I can zoom in. Oh, there we go. Seaforth or Roman spice. Boy, I'm just verklempt today, aren't I? Well, that's it, folks. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Take care of each other mentally, physically. And when it comes to these type of hobbies, just have that awareness. I'm Barber Dave. This has been Barber Dave Shaves and Such. Have a wonderful day, folks. See you again soon. Take care.